employees to local government or aspiring CEOs?
Well, Paul, as you know, I have had a number of years, and I've been around the traps for some time. I guess my initial reaction would be to try not to let change rule. You know, be enthusiastic and try and make it work for you, because there's one thing that was always a common denominator when I was in local government was change, and you can't afford to be obstructive or negative about this. You've got to take the positives out of it. So I think that would be one of the main issues, would be enthusiastic and get the benefits. One of the other important issues, Paul, I would think is that you have to work to keep a balance between work and home. The wife and family are important, and you don't need to finish up strangers at the end of your career. And I possibly didn't do that really well in my time. I used to preach it. I used to encourage my staff to make sure that they took their holidays with their family, etc., and not become too distant. But I do think that's an art, actually, to keep the balance, and I would recommend that to any future budding CEOs. I think depending on the size of council, I think keeping a healthy distance between the elected reps and your own staff, I found that was an issue in the size council that I had, particularly in a community of 10,000 people. You didn't necessarily become one of the boys, because, and it's the same with the council, it doesn't matter how hard, and this is advice I got from Ivan Feen many years ago, it doesn't matter how hard you try, you will never become one of them. So if you've got an elected group of people, you've got to maintain your professionalism and your distance, and you don't expect to be one of the boys, and it's the same thing getting too involved with staff. Because the danger is that you're continually in a state of compromise, where you might wish to admonish somebody, but you're at his son's 21st birthday on the Saturday night before, or you might have an issues with a counsellor who suddenly reminds you that you might owe him a favour. So there is a fine line, but it certainly is achievable. And I don't know how that translates to the bigger size councils, but I certainly know in my case it was an issue. I think with the way that CEOs move on, they don't seem to have any long-term appointments these days. I think it's important that as a CEO that you remain conscious of the present council's aims and objectives. Don't live in the past, or don't say we used to do this, or this is the way it should be done. I think you've got a corporate plan there, you've got a structure. You need to maintain, consistency or relativity with what this particular council wants. Because if you live your life saying that we used to do it this way, it'll get you into a lot of trouble. So I think that's important. But other than that, I think it was a wonderful career. I think there's some wonderful opportunities out there, and I wish everyone who steps into local government all the best.
Thanks, Dan.